Hello, everybody, and welcome to Pages of Peace, art journaling for the heart and soul. If you're watching this right now live, you are inside my private Facebook group called Art and Inspiration for Christian Women. And I want to welcome you to this evening's art journaling workshop. I'm going to be doing these every Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm going to go ahead and pull it up on my laptop over here so that if you are watching live and you comment, I can see your comments. Of course, now I can't find it on my laptop. So let's see if I'm going to have to exit out of Facebook real quick. Technical difficulties always seem to occur when I go live. So let's try this again. I'll pop into Facebook, pop into the group. Oh, there it is. I see it. Okay, hold on one second. There we go. I found it. Okay. Okay, there. Sorry about that. Okay, so if you watch this during the replay, because this will be up for the replay for 30 days, Facebook is just automatically taking videos down after 30 days now. I don't know why, but they are. And so if you watch the replay later, would you just type replay, #replay in the comments below. If you're watching now, say hello, tell me where you're watching from, and we will go ahead and start right in talking about tonight's art journaling page. I call this workshop that we do here, I call it Pages of Peace, art journaling for our heart and soul. And so tonight I'll just start off with a little reminder about what this is all about. So the way that I approach art journaling is to keep it just very relaxed. This is an art journal page between you and God. You can share it, of course, with anyone that you want to. In fact, you can share it here in the group later if you would like. But the point is, this is not about making gallery-worthy art by any stretch of the imagination. This is about having fun, doing some peaceful painting, or you don't have to paint. You can use crayons, markers, colored pencils, watercolors. Tonight I'm going to be using craft paints that are acrylic, but they're craft paints. Let me show you the difference. So this is a professional grade paint that comes in a tube. It's a heavy body. It means it's a little bit thicker. This is a craft paint and it's a little bit thinner. And if you don't have any craft paints yet, you can pick these bottles up at Michael's or Walmart, Hobby Lobby, and they're very inexpensive, usually 97 cents or lower. Maybe it's gone up a little now, I don't know, with inflation, but you get the point. So I'm going to be actually using my craft paints tonight instead of my professional grade paints, which I used last week. So if you want to watch last week's art journaling session, it should be in the group here under, I think it's under, I don't know if there's a videos tab or if it's media, but anyway, you can look for that later. But the whole point to this exercise is to kind of express yourself in something other than words. So we use colors, we use shapes, images, and I always like to start with a theme. And my background is I've been a marriage and family therapist licensed in the state of California for many, many years. I now live in Tennessee, so I'm not practicing clinical counseling, but I have always specialized in expressive arts therapy. And now I'm taking my own art to the next level, and I am now an artist full-time with a little side of Christian counseling, just very, very part-time. But the the thing that I love about this art journaling exercise is that it allows us to kind of pour out our heart to the Lord and express our emotions and our thoughts and our feelings in a way other than just talking. Sometimes talking doesn't get to the heart of the matter. So you'll see as I kind of walk us through this, how I take us through kind of finding an emotion that might be welling up inside and kind of asking yourself some questions about it. If it could have a color, what color would it have? If it had a shape, what shape might it have? That kind of thing. And then we kind of transition to the healing imagery. So the first imagery that you kind of picture in your mind might be, and I'm going to take you through this in my own situation. So this week, my husband, Sunday kind of afternoon, evening, started complaining about feeling cold. And that's very unlike him. He's always hot. He's always running hot. And sure enough, by the next day, Monday morning, we knew for sure he was spiking a fever. So we had no idea what was going on. So we hoped that it was just a passing bug, that he could sleep it off. Well, he slept and he slept and he slept. And we finally got in to see the doctor. I don't remember which day now. It wasn't yesterday, was it? Might have been yesterday. I don't know. This week's been a blur. So we finally did get in to see his doctor, and he has a UTI, possibly some prostate issues. So we're going to have to go to a urologist tomorrow to get those looked at. But if you know me from Facebook at all, you know my husband has a very difficult health history. He's struggled with heart issues from his mid-40s. He's had stents put in over the years. Then we moved to Tennessee. He got hairy cell leukemia, came down with that, had to have chemo, went into the hospital with neutropenic fever from the chemo, basically killing everything in his system, including the good. So he almost died in the hospital that first time after chemo. And then in I can't remember the year now, if it was 2022, he went on a ventilator because he couldn't keep his oxygen levels up. He had caught pneumonia, and so he was literally on a ventilator fighting for his life for a month. Then he finally left the hospital only to return with heart blockages. So he had to have a triple bypass surgery, and he hadn't even recovered from all that time being in bed. So he had a pressure wound. He had no ability to walk. It was rough. It was a very, very challenging year. That whole year was spent getting him recovered. So whenever he gets sick now, we know that in his body, things can take a turn for the worse. So as you can imagine, that has brought up a lot of emotions that came from his past near-death experiences. And so for me, what that was pulling up was grief. This whole week, I've been scared. I've been taking it straight to the Lord. I've been doing, working with my thoughts, comparing my thoughts to the promises of Scripture. But there's just no getting around it. You feel feelings as a human, and I was feeling grief in addition to some fear. So I thought, okay, tonight, that's what I'm going to paint about in the art journal to just kind of demonstrate for you. So I kind of started this already in preparation for this. And I was thinking, okay, if I'm picturing kind of how that grief might have looked, immediately in my artist brain, I'm thinking of a heart shape and kind of like some cracks or some breaks with like teardrops coming out of the heart. And then I thought, okay, so I want to look up some scriptures specifically about the promises that God comforts us in our grief, in our sadness, in our tough times. So I found 3 verses I want to share with you all, and these are what I am going to art journal about tonight. Okay, so verse number 1 was found in Matthew 5:4. It said, "Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted." And then the second verse is found in Psalm 34:18. "The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." And then the third verse, Psalm 147, verse 3, "He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds." So 3 incredible verses. And as I was reading these, I began to picture the healing image that I want to paint tonight in my art journal. And I don't know if it'll come out exactly how I've kind of imagined it, but I'm going to kind of lean in that direction and we'll see where it takes us. So I'm going to flip the camera around so that you can paint along with me if you'd like. Now, if you have a different emotion, that is fine. That is great. You can think in terms of, what emotion have you been wrestling with or dealing with? And if it could have a color or colors, what colors might it be? If it has an image that goes with it, what image might that be? And just kind of picture that. And then invite the Lord in, and maybe you come up with different verses, but you can also borrow mine. And I'm really going to focus in on this one down here. "He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds." Because I think that one, I don't know, that's the one that I want to weave into this painting. And I'm going to use, so I already have an image in mind. I want to draw, or paint rather, a heart. And then I want to paint some maybe teardrops, showing that the heart has been dealing with grief, but then kind of bring in like this pillow of flowers for the heart to kind of rest on. So like I said, we'll see how it goes. But I pulled out all these colors with that in mind. But I'm going to start with the reds. So I pulled out 2 different reds here for my heart. One of them is called True Red, and one of them is called Tuscan Red. They're just a little bit different from each other. And I'm realizing that I might need to turn another light on. So let me see if I can't get a light going here. Hopefully that sheds a little bit more light so we can see a little better. Okay, so let's get a little bit of this red. So this is just an old plate, and I just keep reusing it and reusing it. The acrylic paints will dry on the plate over time. So you don't need to wash it off. When it's really full of layers of paint, you can just throw it out. That's what I like about it. Oh, this one needs these paints, if they sit too long, they can get a little bit separated like that. So I'm just gonna shake this one up just quite a bit more and come next to it over here. So there, we've got a couple different reds to choose from, and I think I'm gonna start with that. So I'm gonna just use my slanted brush here, and let's go into this red here. And I think I'm going to put my heart just a little bit over to the side, not smack dab in the middle. And I'm kind of picturing this in my mind as I go, but it could change. And so I want you to feel really free to experiment and to explore whatever paint or markers or crayons or chalk, whatever you are using for your medium. Feel free to just explore and not worry so much about what it's going to look like. It's more about the process. And this is a very peaceful process. There's something just almost magical, not really magical, but it's almost that way in that it relieves stress. Painting relieves stress. It causes you to focus your attention, so it kind of pushes all the other thoughts that have been tumbling around in your brain kind of out, and it just allows you to really hone in on thinking about your painting. And that can be a really welcome distraction, but we're not stuffing our feelings. We are literally painting about our feelings. And this is, like I said, it's a way of expressing. Just like we do with words, except we're not using words, we're using the language of colors and images. So I'm getting my heart here. I just wanted to kind of make sure that both my, I could just keep making this heart bigger and bigger. I'm gonna stop right there. So that's my heart. Now, let's see, I'm gonna dip into that other red, and I'm just gonna kind of swish it on here and see if I like how it's not barely even a different color, so I'm not even gonna worry about that. Let's go ahead and rinse this brush. I want all the red out of my brush, so I'm gonna take it over to my water, rinse it off, and dry it off on a paper towel a little bit. And then I have this vision in my head, so this is cobalt hue. I'm gonna go ahead and put just a little bit of this blue down. And I have it in my head that I kind of want this side to be like water, kind of swooshing in from the Lord, like the rivers of water, cleansing water from the Lord Jesus. And just kind of, I'm just kind of swooping it in however my brush seems to want to go right now. So I'm just pulling it right up to the edge of my heart, and we'll just see. We'll see where this goes. The other thing I wanted to do was kind of indicate that this heart, you know, has been crying. So I'm just kind of going to put a few shapes reminiscent of teardrops right here. Okay, that's what I had in my head. I'm just gonna bring that water right up to the edge of the heart. And then I think I'll go ahead and pull the water down this way on this side. So I'm kind of just like this heart is being bathed in a river. And so whatever imagery you come up with, I want you to remember there's no right or wrong way to do this. This is your way of expressing. And this is all about the process. So let yourself just enjoy. Let yourself breathe in the comfort of the Lord Jesus and his peace that passes understanding. And for the most part, I am at peace about what's going on with Andy's health right now. I have moments where I lose my peace, don't get me wrong. But the Lord has performed miracles for us so many times in the past that I just really am confident that the Lord he's not ready for Andy to be taken home just yet. But even if he were to have to be called home to heaven, the Lord would provide for me. He would provide comfort. He would provide the physical needs that would crop up immediately afterwards, all the things. So let's even put a couple of teardrops down here too. So I'm just kind of showing like a little continuation of that. I'm just making a shape that's kind of reminiscent of a teardrop. Okay. This one keeps getting bigger and bigger. That's okay. I'm going to stop there. Okay, now the next thing that I have in my mind is flowers. I want to make like a pillow of flowers for this heart. That's kind of where my brain was going. So I'm going to start putting flower colors. I've got peony pink. Actually, you know what? I am going to save myself some paint. I'm going to get some white paint. Let me show you a trick. Titanium white. I'm going to put that right here. If I can get some to come out. I'm going to put a good amount on because I use a lot of white to mix with just about everything. I'm going to go ahead and take a different brush here, and I'm going to go right into this red, and I'm going to grab some white, and I'm going to make pink, my own pink. So that is a very pink pink. Let's darken it. I'm going to use this other red. I'm going to darken this up just a little bit. And whenever I'm making flowers, I like to start with a darker layer first. So I'm darkening this pink up quite a bit here. And I'm just going to start putting, for sake of time, I'm going to make some quick flowers. So I'm just going to kind of start putting some squiggly, round, flowery shapes. Like just imagine that there's kind of wrinkled petals. And then I'm going to go right into my red and just give it a dark center there. Okay, let's go back into our pink and let's put another one of those flowers. Where do we want it? I want a pink one down here. Okay, and I think I'm gonna put one up here, but I'm going to make it facing a different way. So I'm gonna kind of imagine that the flower is facing that way. And I'll put the center in. So this one's center is right there. This one's center is right there. Okay, and let's get some more of this pink. I'm gonna pull in another one over here. And it's kind of nice to have work in threes. And so down here under that little river of water, just gonna have 3 of these colors. Okay, now while I've got this pink here, I'm gonna go ahead and mix more white with it. So this will be the second layer. It's really light actually. Quite light, but that's okay. Now I'm gonna come in and I'm just gonna add some comma shapes just to kind of give a hint that there's these petals going on. And probably I could have used even a little bit of a smaller brush for this, but that's okay. Okay, same thing on this flower, just some little comma shapes. Kind of going around the center there. And same thing with this one down here, little commas. Okay, and now this one, I'm going to try to kind of give the idea that there's some petals, there's some light hitting the petals over here. And the petals are kind of coming up and embracing that center, kind of folding around that center. And I'm going to stop there. Now I'm going to go into my white and I'm going to come over here and make an even lighter pink. So very, very light. And then I'm just going to come in and touch a few commas of that really super light color. And let's kind of pull some of that in up here. And some down here. And so I'm kind of covering some of the layers underneath, but I'm trying to leave a little bit of that peeking through. But I can always go back to my pink and add some shadows back in if I need to in a few places. So, but I'm going to leave those flowers alone. I'm going to go ahead and rinse my brush really good. And now I'm going to go into a different color. I want a warmer color of flower. So I have this coral reef, which is more of a peach color. So let's put some coral colored flowers on here. And we'll get those going. So let's get our first layers of the coral colored flowers. So I'm just gonna, for sake of ease, I'm gonna keep all these flowers round. And I haven't decided if I want them in the water. I kind of don't want them in the water, but so I'm gonna kind of work around the water. I'm gonna just kind of pretend that this flower is behind that flower. In fact, maybe I'll just bump that out, make it nice and big. Yeah, like that. Then let's pull this one down so that it's touching the edge of that one. And so you can see how I'm just thinking this through as I paint. I am really trying to just go with the flow and not worry. Let's put a peach colored flower over here. I want to make this one round. And ish. That's going to be a kind of a weird shape, but that's okay. Flowers are weird shapes sometimes. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's maybe put a fifth one in. Let's do one here. And maybe we'll make this one face the other way. That way. Now I'm going to go ahead and put red in the centers of all of these, just to get some dark colors kind of coming in there. There we go. There's some of our peach colored. I'm going to switch to a different color now. I'm going to go to yellow. Let's pull some yellow flowers in. All right, so let's find a spot on the plate. I'm running out of room on my plate. Okay, so we've got our yellow, and I think for the yellow, do I want to do the same? Yeah, I guess I'm just going to do the same shape, because this is supposed to be kind of a pillow of flowers. Okay, there's a nice bright yellow one there. Let's put a nice bright yellow one over here too. And I'm going to let it kind of bump right up next to that heart, right up next to that peach colored flower. So we've got a couple of yellows. Let's pull a yellow one in up here too. Okay, so my eye with the yellow's kind of going up. I think that's going to be it for our yellow. I'm going to go ahead and pull even another color. So let's pull another color in. This color is called Razzleberry. And these are all kind of in the peachies, pinkies family. Peachy pinkies family. And that's just what I kind of had pop into my little head when I was thinking about this. So I'm just gonna do some straight on flowers in this color now. Let's do one that goes right up off the page up here. This will be a straight on. Okay, maybe I'm gonna pull one down here too. Let's pull one like a half a flower. Just kind of comes right up to here. Actually, we'll let it cover some of that peachy flower. And let's see, where else? I might tuck a little hint of one right there. And I might put one right here. Kind of bumping right up next to this yellow. I'm gonna let it kind of peek or go behind this flower that's already there. Okay, so I've got that. Now again, let's try something. I'm gonna take a little bit of this blue and I'm gonna mix it into what's on my brush, which is a real purple color. I lost my laptop there for a minute. And I'm just gonna make our centers kind of that purpley blue for these pink flowers. All right, so we've got our purpley blue centers on those. I've got the red centers on the peach flowers. I need to figure out what I want to do for the yellow flowers. I think I'll do this peach color. Let's mix it with a tiny bit of red. My red's getting a little bit dry over here. So I'm mixing that red with the peach just to darken that peach up a little bit so I can get a center going on these little yellow flowers. I'm going to need some more yellow flowers, I feel like. So let's do that now. Might as well. So let's put a yellow one right down here. And as you can see, I'm just like looking at my page, kind of seeing where there's space that I want to fill, and just kind of going at it that way. Okay, now let's get a center in here, and we'll hint at a center over there. Okay, that's that. Alrighty, let's see, where else? I might put what color would I want to put there? You know, I'm gonna go back to that pink. I'm gonna make another pink flower. So let's go back to that pink. So I'm mixing that red with that white. And we'll fit a nice big pink one right here. Okay, so there, that's our pink one there. And let's pop a nice big pink one over here. Kind of straight on. Just to kind of fill up some of that white space. I'm going to be putting some leaves in too, so that's something that, now let me grab my red and put our centers in. So let's get our little centers. Okay. And let's see, what do I want to do next? I want to go in and make that lighter shade of pink. And just kind of start putting my commas in. And I'm going to kind of speed up. I'm taking kind of a long time. Let's get some lighter colors, comma colors going on over here. Okay, let's see. I'm going to pull in a little bit of stark white because it's going to blend a little bit because it's still very, very wet. So it won't actually be stark white. It's gonna be all blendy. Okay, there's that one. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and get that darker razzleberry, and I'm gonna mix that with the white, and we'll put some comma shapes in on this razzleberry flower. And this brush is getting super thick with paint. So I'm gonna wipe that off on my paper towel. I'm gonna start over. I'm gonna pull some white and mix that over here. Okay, and then I'm gonna try to brush the excess paint off so that I can get those smaller comma shapes. My brush was getting so fat with the paint that it wasn't really allowing me to get those smaller brush strokes that I wanted. Okay, so we're gonna kind of pop a few of those in over there. This flower doesn't show very much, so, okay. There. And I may have to go back in to the razzleberry and add in some shading back in. So like right here, we could put a little comma right there. Just adding a little bit of the shadows back in a few places. Okay, now let's grab the peach color. So I've got the peach right here. I'm gonna pull in some white and mix that so I've got a lighter shade of the peach. So same thing, just kind of, whoops, I got red on my brush. But you know what, that's kind of pretty. I'm gonna let it be. Bob Ross would say it's a happy accident. All those little happy accidents. Okay, so I'm gonna put some commas on this flower here. And on this flower here. I need to speed this up a little bit, just so that I'm not taking all night long to do this. Okay, let's see, where else do I have peach? I've got peach over there. So I've got to mix a little bit more white. And let's pull in kind of a comma shape that's coming over that way. Yeah, so that flower's kind of headed in that direction. And now I'm just kind of pulling some white straight on. Boy, I covered that whole center up right there. Let's see if I can't fix that a little bit. Okay, let's wipe the brush off and come back into our peachy white. I've got one down here that I need to throw some commas in. And let's see if I can't do a little something with this peach flower here. It needs a little bit of definition. Okay, let's see, did I get all my peach flowers? I did. This one I'm actually gonna pull some actual peach back in because I had that red in my brush and it really changed the color of the flower, and I didn't necessarily want it to be that different than it had been. Okay, so I'm just gonna leave that be. And we've got that one, we got that one, we got this one. Okay, so the only other one I want to do is the yellow ones. So I just want to add a little bit of white. I'm running out of white to the yellow. Let's go over to this side of the plate and just mix the yellow and the white. Okay. I'm actually just gonna go straight into the white, I think. Whoops, I got some pink on my brush. Let's try that again. Okay, so let's just go straight into white. Since the yellow is so bright anyway, I don't really need to dampen it down. I can just take the straight white, go right over the top. Let some of that mix. Oops, got that pink on my brush again. All right, let's try covering that up. Nope, that's not covering up. All right, I'm gonna wipe that off. There. Let's see, let's pull some white. I gotta find actual clean white somewhere on my plate. It's kind of gotten run in with a bunch of the other colors, so might have to get more white on my plate. There, let's really whiten this one up. Okay, I'm gonna just let that go for now. And what I wanted to do was I just wanted to get some greens in here. And I want to show you a trick. So I'm going to take some black paint and I'm going to just put that on my plate. Let's say like right there. And I'm going to take some yellow. Let's see, I'm going to get a different brush. What brush do I want? I want a round brush. If I can get a nice little round brush. Well, we'll go ahead and use this one. It's a little bit bigger than what well, no, let's find a different one. That's a round brush, but it's still kind of too big. This one is smaller. Let's go with this one. Okay, so I'm gonna take some yellow. I'm gonna mix it with black. And what yellow and black does is it makes a very kind of natural muted green color. It's kind of neat. And I'm just gonna come in and just kind of pretend like there's these curlicue leaves just kind of coming right up next to some of these flowers. So there's just these little sprigs sticking out. And then this one is just gonna kind of be a bunch of green. I'm gonna go into my yellow and pop that yellow in right up next to that heart and make it a lighter green. So we're just kind of imagining that there's all this filler kind of going on in some of these little white spaces. So just popping in some greens now to go around, and oh, there's some pretty little leaves just sparking out every which way. Trying to be pretty relaxed about where the leaves go and what shape they are. They don't have to be shaped like leaves. Quite often when we look at flowers from a distance, the leaves really have all kinds of shapes. Some of them are turned to the side, some of them are, you know, straight sticking out like that look like a leaf. Some of them just are totally different. So I'm kind of letting different colors of green, different shades of green pop in here. Because I just want this, again, to kind of have the white space that's there, just kind of cover that. And I'm gonna go straight into my yellow and lighten that green up that I just put there. And so some spots I'm letting the dark green be there. So let's mix some of that dark green. Okay, so some of it's really nice and dark. Some of it's lighter. And that's exactly what you would see in nature too. So I'm just gonna kind of embrace some of these leaves with the darker one, like a little hug. And here's a leaf popping out down here. And then I'm gonna come in with the yellow and lighten some of those. And if it gets too light, I can just add more black. Okay, so we're gonna pull that leaf all the way down. Let's pull another leaf straight on. And I am just having fun. I'm just really letting my attention be on this, and I'm just enjoying painting. I'm really trying to turn my attention to the paint and not to anything that's been going on all week. That's the beauty of painting. Okay, let's pull a couple of leaves. I want to pull out just a few more leaves. So I'm just going to imagine that there's one kind of coming right here, right up next to this heart. Kind of like it's embracing the heart. Just come around like that. And let's see, do I want any more leaves anywhere else? Maybe one little one. We'll just kind of pop one right here and imagine that there's a leaf that's going behind the river of water. There. Okay, so that's our kind of our pillow. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna put some you know, curlicues and stemmy things, like maybe there's just vines growing or something. So let me get back into my black and my yellow and mix up a nice green again. Okay. That's a dark green. So I'm just kind of letting that vine out, and then I'm going to come straight in with some yellow to come over the top and mix in. I'm going to pull that right up around that rose, and I'm really going to darken these vine thingies. So let's pull this one way up here. Let's pull this one down here. So I'm just kind of letting these vine out. And then I'm going to come in with the yellow and add a lighter vine. Okay, now I also want to start thinking about, do I want to write my verse in here? And I have plenty of room to do it, so I think I probably will. I think I will probably write the verse up here. And I might do a background first though. So I might actually come in and do a really light blue background. I'm not sure. Let me get out. I want to show you this before I end tonight. I want to show you these acrylic paint markers that you can get. And these are actual paints. And so he heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Let's pick a paint marker color. I'm going to go with gold. I like gold. And I just want to start the wording. And actually, you know what? Let's move that, and I'm going to show you on here what it looks like, because that's not dry yet, and if I start trying to write on that, my paint will get smeared. So I'm going to show you what this looks like just on a piece of paper. So he heals the broken hearted. And so that's what the gold looks like. I may go ahead and use that gold, but like I said, I really want to let this dry before I write the verse on here. So once this dries and I write the verse on, I'll take a picture of the final page and I'll post it in here later. But that's kind of what I like to do. Now, I don't always write the verse in. Sometimes I just leave the painting for me to look back at later and kind of remember what it meant on its own. But I do quite often like to write the verse in, because to me that helps me memorize the verse too. And when you write the verse, it's worth saying it 11 times. I was taught that by a professor a long time ago. Just write it, and it's like saying it 11 times. Okay, let's go ahead and end. I'm going to turn this. I'm going to show you a little bit up close. And that's got to dry. So I'm going to turn this around and just say, I'd love to see what you come up with. And pick your own verse or borrow from me. I will put the verses below too. I will type them in a comment below this live. As soon as it ends, I'll go do that, so you can have these verses too if you want. But hi Paulette, I think you're watching. My phone's telling me that you're watching, so if you're watching, hello. And I want to thank everybody for your prayers for Andy and I. We really appreciate it, and we will let you all know how it goes, and I'll show you the final product in a photograph tomorrow. Okay? Good night. Take care. Bye-bye.